Okay, hello everyone. How's it going? This is immigration attorney Moumita Rahman, and I'm here to talk to you about immigration and talk to you about any of the questions that you may have on your mind. Today, I will answer as many of your questions live that I can in the time that I have. And for those of you who do not know me, my name is Moumita Rahman. I am a licensed immigration attorney. I am based out of New York, and I work with clients all over the US. So if you are in need or looking for a good immigration attorney who provides quality service and extremely high levels of customer service, give us a call. So first of all, thank you again so much for joining. I'm going to talk about a question that I've got today in my office quite a lot, which is if your US citizen spouse is outside the US because they have a 10-year bar, can you bring them back, or when can they come back home? If they have the permanent bar or if they have some other sort of bar. This is a very good topic, and it's a very important question because I know that there are a lot of viewers out there, a lot of my followers who have family members who are outside the US, they were formerly in the US, maybe they were deported, maybe something else happens, maybe they left and they could never come back. Something must have happened, and now you're looking to bring them back. So let's talk about some of the scenarios in which you can bring your family members back home and some of the special things that you may need to do for that, okay? And also, if anyone who needs to give us a call for an appointment, give us a call at 212-248-7907, okay? We do virtual consultations all over for people all over the US. So it's only by phone or by video. So don't be afraid if you think that just because I'm in New York that I cannot help you. It is not true. I actually also travel for a lot of my cases, and I travel for court and for interviews. All right, so let's talk about this right now. What happens if your spouse is outside the US or your family member is outside the US and you have been told that they have a 10-year bar and now you want to bring them back because you're a US citizen and you want to have your family with you? So let's talk about, first of all, we first need to see what kind of bar your family member has, because there are actually multiple types of bars, and I'll explain a few of these right now. So the most common sort of bar, which a lot of people have, is usually either the 3 or the 10-year bar. Let's talk about the 10-year bar. The 10-year bar is actually very common because the 10-year bar happens when people have been in the US without permission for more than 1 year, and then they leave the US. Upon leaving the US after having more than 1 year of unlawful presence after April 1st, 1997, you basically trigger what is called a 10-year bar. A 10-year bar means that you can't come back to the US. However, in some circumstances, if you qualify for a waiver or a permission to come back, basically a waiver, then you can apply for the waiver and come back. This waiver is called the I-601 waiver, and you would apply for it while you're outside. And the qualifications for this is that the relative who is now outside the US with the 10-year bar needs to have either a US citizen or green card holding spouse or parent inside the US who would suffer extreme hardship, and that's why they need to go back. If this waiver gets approved, then they would be going for an interview at the consulate to be issued an immigrant visa and come back in less than 10 years after that. Of course, if you serve out the 10 years outside, then you would not need any sort of waiver for this. Now, another sort of bar may happen if you have been deported. What happens if you've been deported, right? If you've been deported, whether your deportation was an expedited removal or by a judge, or also if you committed an aggravated felony, then you will have a bar. And this bar is going to be either 5 years or 10 years or 20 years, depending on what happens. And for this, in some circumstances, you may be able to actually come back in less than that amount of time that you have to stay outside, also by doing a certain permission to re-enter. And it's the same conditions. You need to have a US citizen spouse or green card holding spouse or parent who would suffer extreme hardship, okay? And for this, also, again, if you are outside for that period of time and you serve it out, then after that, then you don't need to come back. Then you don't need to do any sort of special application. However, for those people who have something called the permanent bar, the permanent bar is a little bit different, and the reason they call it the permanent bar is because if you have the permanent bar, even if you're outside for 10 years, you still need to apply for, it doesn't really lift necessarily, you still need to do a permission to come back. And for this, it would be the same sort of reasons. And let me explain a little bit about the permanent bar because it's a little bit hard to understand. But the permanent bar happens similarly to if you have more than 1 year of unlawful presence after April 1st, 1997, and then you leave. you trigger the 10-year bar, but when you try to come back, that triggers the permanent bar. Now, also, if you get deported after this date and you try to come back without permission, same thing, you'll trigger the permanent bar, okay? So when people ask me, can my spouse come back? Can my family member come back? Can my dad come back? Can my mom come back? We have to look at a lot of different things. Give me a call, 212-248-7907. We'll be happy to book you for an appointment to go over this issue to see what we can do to bring your family member back or to help you understand what the other options may be, okay? All right, so everyone, please go ahead and leave me your questions in the commentary box, and I'll do my best to answer as many questions that I can live, okay? What is going to happen with TPS with Honduras from Catracho? Catracho, I don't really know. Okay, Ana Laura is saying, tengo una pregunta. Si agarre mi permiso de trabajo y seguro me dijeron que puedo hacer taxes. Okay, so I have a question. If I have been caught with my work permit and they've told me that you have to do your taxes. Okay, so Ana Laura, si usted tiene, si usted trabaja en los estados, necesita pagar los impuestos, ¿sí? Y necesita hacer sus taxes porque en los estados no importa si usted tiene estatus o no, todos la gente necesitan pagar sus impuestos, okay? Okay, processing time for, and everyone, thank you for your patience with my Spanish. I do my best as much as I can. I hope it was understandable. Processing time for I-601 in the USA from Arshusa. Definitely, I would say the processing time for I-601 waivers can be anywhere from a year to about 2 years. If you only have traffic tickets paid and dismissed, does it affect for N400 for 3-year marriage? From D Valenzuela. D Valenzuela, so anytime, if you watched my live yesterday, you would have heard me say this, and this is really important. If you have any sort of law enforcement encounter, whether it's a traffic ticket, it's an arrest, something was something was dismissed or sealed, or it happened 30 years ago, 40 years ago, you've got to admit it all. And the question on the N400 for citizenship is very, very broad, intentionally broad because they want to see what you say. The question on the N400 is, have you ever been cited, detained, arrested, charged, or convicted of any sort of crime or offense? And in my opinion, a traffic ticket would fall underneath a citation, and you should certainly mention it, I would say. Definitely talk to an immigration lawyer and let them help you with your case if you're concerned at all, if you have any sort of criminal issue. But normally a traffic ticket, especially if it's been paid, and you're not, you have good moral character. Otherwise, it should not be an issue. Okay. But definitely, I would recommend to have a proper consultation so you can find it out for sure. Okay, let's see what other questions I have. My girlfriend overstayed with a working visa and just has a working permit. I'm a green card holder. Can I file for them from Freddie? Freddie, no. If your girlfriend, has an overstay and you only have a green card, you need to naturalize. And the reason is that spouses of U.S. citizens are considered immediate relatives, whereas spouses of green card holders are considered preference category relatives, and only immediate relatives, which are the spouses of U.S. citizens, have the benefit of, like the government does not really care if they worked without authorization or overstayed their visa. This is not a barrier. When you're the spouse of a U.S. citizen, usually you kind of get it as it's kind of like almost forgiven, almost in a way. But if your spouse is a green card holder, then for you basically need to wait until your spouse becomes a U.S. citizen, or if that's not an option, then you can actually do processing overseas for a visa and file for a waiver before you leave, okay? And Freddie, if you need help with that, give us a call. I have asylum, so can I file for VAWA and put the I-360 and I-485 together? From Prithvi. Prithvi, yes. If you have filed for asylum and now you are married to a U.S. citizen and you're suffering in this relationship and you believe that you've qualified for VAWA, give me a call. I'd be happy to evaluate your case. And if you are eligible for VAWA, if you qualify, for me, it's not a problem for you to also have an asylum in the background. They don't clash. However, we would have to kind of figure out what to do with the asylum. Usually we'd withdraw because by the time you get, we don't want to have to conflicting interviews. That's usually the main problem. But give us a call, Prithvi, okay? Any DACA news? Will we have to pay the fee again? Is there any news at all from Quetzali? Quetzali, I don't have any information about DACA. There's no updates whatsoever right now, unless I missed something in the news. Can I still file for VAWA if I'm annulled from GPOC? GPOC, give us a call. Let us take a look at your case, okay? It may be an issue, but we want to make sure we're covering all the grounds, okay? Mother petitioned my brother, but no longer wanted to come. What will happen? The visa is approved. From Mitch Taros. Mitch Taros and anyone else who's outside waiting for an immigrant visa to come into the U.S. and the U.S. citizen relative is no longer in the U.S., I think that that's going to be a problem, mainly because when you go for your immigrant visa interview, you have to show that your U.S. citizen relative has to file what is called an I-864, which is the affidavit of support. And the affidavit of support requires domicile in the U.S. And domicile means that they need to live here. So if the mother is no longer living in the U.S., then that may be a difficulty, okay? And thank you for the follows. Okay, Víctor Díaz me pregunta, ¿cuánto necesito ganar para no necesitar sponsor? Somos 6 de familia, una en high school y una en uni. Okay, Víctor, cuando usted tramita la aplicación por adjustment or status, necesita una aplicación también por una affidavit of support. Y por toda su gente, el número por el income es diferente, ¿sí? Y hay una página en el website de USCIS que tiene la información por the poverty guidelines. Okay, my boyfriend has DACA and wants a green card. What is the process? From empty space. Empty space. If your boyfriend has DACA and they want a green card and you are a U.S. citizen, I would probably recommend that if your relationship, if you're in that place to get married, go ahead and get married, because then at least your boyfriend is going to have, you can help them. Whether your boyfriend needs a waiver or not is going to depend on his manner of entry, and it's going to be different for everyone, okay? But give us a call, empty space, if you get married and you need some help. My husband did voluntary departure. Oops, I just lost the question. All right, guys, I'm sorry. I think I may have lost a question. Please post it again if you get a chance. It was about voluntary departure. All right, Fairness is saying, I have DACA. Can my mom, a resident, start a petition for me? From Fairness. Fairness, very good question. So first of all, I think your mom, if your mom is a resident and you're an adult child, I believe from my recollection, your mom can at least file an I-130 for you, okay? And once that becomes basically the priority date becomes current for your application, we can look to see whether you need a waiver or not. By that time, you may be, it depends on what age you got DACA, right? Because the only time that people would really need a waiver is if, number one, they don't have a legal entry, and number two, they have certain days of unlawful presence in the U.S. And if you got your DACA before you turned age 18, the chances are likely that you have not accrued unlawful presence, but it also depends on if you had any lapses in your DACA, okay? Fairness, I would love to see if we can help you with this. Okay, so give us a call, 212-248-7907. I'm waiting for my DACA renewal and I need to renew my driver's license. How do I prove lawful presence? From DDGen. DDGen, it really depends on your state. Some states make it very difficult to renew your license. You have to show, like your DACA application. One thing you can do is you can try to contact your senator to help you expedite your DACA case, okay? But without that, if your state requires this proof, then you won't be able to do it. Can my husband get automatic citizenship when getting his legal papers if I'm a citizen? From Patty. Patty, thank you for your question. So if you are a U.S. citizen and you marry somebody without status and you want to help them, there's no mechanism for them to automatically become a U.S. citizen. They first have to go through the green card process because The green card is always a step. A person always needs to become a permanent resident before they can become a citizen. And once they get that residency, if they get the residency through marriage to you, and you stay together for another few years, 3 years, then he can apply for citizenship after 3 years. Okay. Can I apply for VAWA if I'm inadmissible? I have 2 illegal entries from KCOW 90. Definitely, you can apply for VAWA. Okay, you can apply for VAWA. It doesn't matter if you have 2 illegal entries or more. However, to see if you're eligible to get the green card status, the adjustment of status, it's going to require more of an analysis. However, just because you have an illegal entry does not disqualify you from getting a green card when you get your green card through VAWA. Because that's a benefit that they give to you. However, if you have more than one illegal entry, and you may have something called the permanent bar, when you do VAWA and you want to adjust your status and get a green card, first of all, the permanent bar does not disqualify you from getting VAWA approved. And the benefit of getting VAWA is lots. Number 1, you would have deferred action, which is protection against deportation. And number 2, you would also get a work permit, basically, that's renewable for the rest of your life. But if you want to move on for the adjustment of status and you have the permanent bar, then what we have to do is we have to show a connection between what you suffered during the course of your marriage to either your departure or your entry back into the U.S., okay? So give us a call, okay? I would love to take a look at your case. 212-248-7907. If I have submitted my application for citizenship, can I still travel abroad? From JD DayGG. Sorry, I can't pronounce things today. I don't know why. So if you have submitted your naturalization application, you can travel outside. Yes, it's not there's no prohibition. However, you have to be very, very mindful of how many days you have or you don't have on U.S. soil, because they will constantly analyze and look at your continuity of residency plus your physical presence in the U.S. I received a letter saying I-693 was not submitted, but office told me not to send. What can I do? From Anna Laura. Anna Laura, you have to wait for your interview or for a request for evidence, just like the letter says. If my green card expires in May, can I fly out of the country and come back in before it's May? From Nika USA. Nika USA, and anyone whose green card is about to expire, your green card is good until the day that it expires for re-entry to the US. And if but I think it's cutting it a little short if you try to come back right in, because you never know what travel disruptions you're going to have with COVID-19. However, if you're a green card holder and you're stuck outside the US because your card got lost or it expired while you're overseas, you can actually, there's a way for you to be able to come back, but you have to make an appointment with your consulate, with the US consulate in the country that you're in, to get like a transportation letter or some sort of a document to let you back onto the plane. You have to pay a large fee, and it's pretty hard to get appointments these days. How to bring my fiance from Canada to the USA. I'm a US citizen from Akrish. Akrish, if it's a fiance, you can do a fiance visa. My mother cannot speak English at all. She's 85. Can she apply for citizenship from Facemaking 1000? So anyone who is unable to speak English is really only exempt underneath very limited circumstances. But if your mother has been a resident for 25, 30 years, then she may be exempt. If she has a medical disability, then we can look into that as well. Thank you for sharing my lives and for following Melanie and Millie Love. If a person got here in 99 and left for 2 months and came back in 2005, can they get a green card? From Liz Dreamer. Liz Dreamer, it depends on, first of all, when did they leave? If they came in 99, did they leave in like right away 2 months later? Because then that may not be an issue. However, if they left after more than a year, and then they came back again in 2005 without permission again, then that would be a problem. However, if either the 99 or the 2005 entry was with permission, then it should be okay, but definitely give us a call, okay? My daughter is married with an American citizen in 5 years. How long does she have to wait for the green card? From user, anyone who's married to a U.S. citizen, the amount of time they have to wait for a green card generally depends on the location they live and the exact type of application they have to do. Now, sometimes when you have to do a waiver or you have to do additional things, or you don't have a straightforward path to the green card, then it takes a long time. But if you have a legal entry and there's no other barriers, then normally I would say the average amount of time should be about a year, maybe a year and a half, okay? If I owe the IRS and I'm in a payment plan, can I apply for citizenship? As long as you are in, you don't have any overdue taxes, you should be fine. When you are in an active payment plan with the IRS and you want to apply for citizenship, then that shows a good faith effort, and you're not really, it's not overdue in that sense anymore because you're already on a payment plan. But definitely consult with an attorney on your individual case. My father-in-law has been a resident for 20 years, if not more, and about 15 years ago, he got 2 DUIs from Mimi Mendoza. Mimi Mendoza, if your father-in-law has been a resident, I would say it's time to naturalize, and that's probably your question. Can you naturalize with 2 DUIs? So like as lawyers love to say, as we love to say, it depends. It depends on when the DUIs were, how bad they were, what's the rehabilitation, and does your father-in-law have any other good factors or negative factors? Give us a call, Mimi Mendoza. I'd love to take a look at his case, okay? 212-248-7907. Katsali is asking, I've been in the U.S. since I was 9 months old from Mexico. Is there anything that I can do? Katsali, it would really depend, again, on what you have available to you in terms of relatives and other forms of relief. I hope you at least have DACA. If you don't qualify for that, then we can take a look to see what you qualify for, so give us a call, okay? My husband was denied and was in Mexico for 2.5 years, from Melanie Sanchez. Melanie, I'm so sorry to hear that. It sounds like he got denied at his interview at the consulate, right? And when that happens to you, you have to start all over again. If you leave the US, you go for your interview and you get denied at the consulate for whatever reason, you basically have to start over from scratch, okay? How do we ask questions? Just go ahead and post your questions here, okay? Why does the spouse have a 10-year bar? I thought there's an unlawful presence waiver for spouses, or was he deported? Notorious 23, bars can happen, the 10-year bar can happen for a couple of reasons. So it really depends, and I don't really know what happened. I want to know about the S visa from Kuldeep. Kuldeep, I don't really deal with that, so I can't really answer anything about that. I was deported from the USA. How can I return to the USA? Mohammed, it will depend on if you have any immediate relatives and also why you were deported. Hello, Ronald. All right, I'll answer this. Raj Singh is asking, what will happen with initial DACA applications? Initial DACA applications, if any of you have filed for initial DACA, you already know that your application is just pending. It's going to remain pending for a very long time. And the reason for this is because there is a case in court that has basically held up the cases for DACA. So if initial DACA cases are not being rejected, nor are they being denied, because I think there is some anticipation that DACA may be back on the table again, okay? I hope that helps. I did my citizenship biometrics in August 2021, but I still don't get my interview date yet, from Arjun. I have to say something about this. Sometimes I get a lot of these comments where people say, I just filed for X, Y, and Z, and I don't have my interview yet. Well, if it's been 3 months or 6 months, I don't think you should be waiting for an interview yet. I mean, I think the average wait time almost everywhere in the US for anything that is interview-based is about 1 year. So if you file, if you got your biometrics done in August 21, that means you probably filed a few months before that. So you're probably about 9 months in. Give it a few months and you'll get it soon. Okay. Can you explain a little bit more on DACA to get a green card? My boyfriend has been in the U.S. since he was 2 years old. From Aris Bejaros. Aris, okay, give me 1 second to get a sip of water. So when someone gets approved for DACA, it will basically put a stop. It puts a stop on the unlawful presence. And if you are, going to get married in the future, or somebody else is going to sponsor you, you would first of all need to most likely may not be eligible for adjustment of status in the U.S. So if you do need to leave the US, we have to look to see how much unlawful presence you have. And if a person gets DACA before turning 18, then generally it should toll unlawful presence so that they don't start to accumulate it. And if you are marrying your boyfriend who has DACA and you're a US citizen, then, let's just say that he doesn't have a legal entry. We have to look to see how much unlawful presence he has, because he'd need to go outside the US to do his interview at the consulate. And if he does not have a lot of unlawful presence, then he would not need a waiver. Now, if your boyfriend has a legal entry, like he entered with a visa or with a passport, a non-US passport, then and you're a US citizen, then it doesn't matter how much unlawful presence he has, and he'd be eligible to do the adjustment of status right away. My brother was deported 16 years ago. My mom is now a citizen. What can she do to bring him back from Millie Love? Millie Love, okay, thank you. It's a great question. I actually just discussed this a little bit earlier. And if your brother was deported 16 years ago, we do need to look to see why he was deported. If it's for something serious, then it may be an issue. But if it was just like, he got caught being here without permission, and it's been 16 years, then your mom can petition for him right now, and we can hopefully get him back soon. Give us a call. Okay, Millie Love, 212-248-7907. Zoheb is asking, when are you getting my citizenship? Zoheb, so for you, my friend, we're going to need to wait for the green card first, and then about 3 years after that, okay? I'll be there for you, God willing. Do I have a case? I have 2 illegal entries and inside the US from Garcia. Garcia, if you have 2 illegal entries, I am wondering if you might have the permanent bar. If you have the permanent bar, then we would need to see if you qualify for a T visa, a U visa, or VAWA if you're married to a citizen or a green card holder, okay? So it really depends on those things. What if somebody is here? Ooh, I hate when these questions jump. I lose them. All right. I'm my husband's sponsor. When we applied, we were 5 households. Everything was approved. Now we're 6. Will it change? So Pinky Palacios, Pinky, so anyone who does a adjustment of status process and during this time with your I-485, you also have to file the I-864. At that time, whatever your income level is, whatever your household size is basically decided. It gets frozen at the time that you make that application. If your income goes down later, or if your your household size increases, then it generally doesn't affect. However, this is usually not true for cases that are doing consular processing outside, because the I-864 is filed, like your stuff needs to be current at that time, okay? If I'm under my family unity and my due date is June 1st, 1999, how long will it take and what steps do I have to take? Ernesto Medina. Ernesto, great question. So if you are eligible underneath Section 245I and your priority date sounds like it's current, which is amazing, you need to give us a call. Give us a call, but you need to start filing and start, if your priority date is current and you're eligible for Section 245I, then you just straight up apply for adjustment of status, pay that extra fee, and be ready for that interview. Have all of your proof. Give us a call if you need help, 212-248-7907. All right, my wife and kid leaves out of the country. Can I apply to bring them here even if I'm only a resident? Nika USA, yes. If you're a resident and your spouse and your kids are outside the US, you can definitely file for them. You can definitely file for them to bring them back over here. It'll probably take a couple of years, okay? And better start now because the priority dates may be changing soon. All right. I have been deported for 5 years. I'm married to a US citizen. I tried to get back to the States from Canada and was denied and given another bar. I was desperate. I know it was not a good choice, and we're both underneath horrible hardship. My health has gotten greatly worse, and my husband as well. What can we do? Faye, unfortunately, if you're outside the US and you were deported and you came back, you tried to come back, like what I would say is, did you try to come back illegally? or did you try to come back again with your visa? Like what happened? Because if you tried to come back after that 5-year, basically it sounds like you got an order of expedited removal. If you got an expedited removal, which basically means that they don't really allow you to leave the country, and they also tell you that you can't come back for 5 years, and you try to come back into the US again without permission, then that triggers the permanent bar. It's a very unfortunate truth. It triggers the permanent bar. However, I hate to say it this way, but if you have suffered in your relationship and your spouse, you try to come back at the insistence of your spouse and so on and so forth, give me a call, because maybe we can file for VAWA for you. And if you are eligible for VAWA, if you happen to be eligible for VAWA and there's a connection to you coming back or getting deported at that time to your marriage, then we can maybe help you, okay? But it does take many, many years. If my fiance has a work visa, will applying for residency be easier or faster? He has a legal entry from Val Munoz. Val, good question. Anytime somebody can get married instead of waiting for a work visa and the green card route through work, it's almost always going to be faster and easier. So give us a call if you need help with that, okay? 212-248-7907. All right, everyone, this is all the time that I have for today. Oh, one last question from Doria. 2-year green card, which expires this year in October. Bianca, thank you. 2-year green card, which expires this year in October. I filed for divorce. What are my options to say? Doria, give us a call, because we can help you do a waiver for your residence, for your condition, a removal of conditions on your case. I do lots of divorce waivers. I do lots of extreme cruelty and battery waivers as well, okay? Give us a call, 212-248-7907. Bianca, I think you sent me a question. Okay, how many days do we have to be in Juarez prior to the interview date? From Bianca Hernandez. Bianca, I recommend, you're not going to get that much time when you get your interview notice. Your interview may be in just a few weeks or about a month after you get the notice. So you should go immediately, because you need to get your medical examination done, and you need to have enough time for that, okay? All right, and thank you for the flower and the presents, Bianca. All right, thank you so much, everyone. Again, if you're looking for good legal representation, give us a call, 212-248-7907. I believe that immigrants make America great already. It's an unfair system, and it's really hard. But I hope that at least I can do my part right now in helping to bring you some sort of small hopes. Okay. All right. Have a great day, everyone. Take care.